You're having some construction at your house, I heard.
Shit, call it construction.
Well, some deconstruction for some new construction.
Shit just breaking. All in 1 week. So I was doing laundry like last week, and my washer machine was tripping the power. Like it was short circuiting, and I got all kind of paranoid about that because like I don't want my house burning down. So I had them come out, like the electrician came out and he told me like if it does it again, this is what to do. And so it ended up doing it again last Saturday, and I did what he told me to do, and it kept doing the same thing, like shorting. So I panicked and just unplugged everything, and they weren't able to come out over the weekend. So when my ex was here with my daughter, he like plugged the washing machine to the outlet outside just because it literally stopped in the middle of doing wash. Like I had a full load of wet clothes in there. It was just a shit show. And then when I went to drop my rent check off, I had mentioned to them that my refrigerator makes this very loud screeching, screaming noise. So they were like, okay, we'll send out the appliance guy. Well, that same evening, I had my ex bring her home for me, and I just told him to get her in the shower. Well, when I came back home, he had the faucet had come off, the other thing had come off, and he's all pissed off. And I'm like, what did you do? I said, all I did was get her a shower. Like, just get the kid in the shower. What are you doing in my bathroom with the faucet in your hand or the spigot or whatever it's called? And he's like, it's just old and it's rotted and you need to call your landlord. I was like, but I've been on the phone with my landlord the last 2 days. Now I got to tell him I have another problem. Like, what the fuck? And so I called them the next day and I was like, does this happen like death in threes? Because now I need you out here for my faucet. So I had I was telling Rashad, in one day I had the plumber here to fix the faucet. I had the appliance guy here. The electrician was out here. It was just all in 1 week, all in a few days.
You're calling masculine energy over there, huh?
Apparently. And they were all really super cool, because they're just the people that the landlord sends. And it's just funny because I've been in this house for, I think February is 7 years. And I've never had that much go wrong in one time, period. So, and it kind of makes sense to me with that spade energy, that 9 of spades, 10 of spades. It's like an increase of power, and maybe there's the energy what's been going on with the kid, has just increased the frequency in this house, and shit was just going rah. It's crazy.
Maybe some new appliances.
Well, I don't think that's gonna happen. He ain't gonna do all that. He gonna fix it because that refrigerator is probably 20. This house is old. It's old and it's small, and he knows that if I leave, it's going to cost him. He would have to charge the rent that you could get here now. He would have to gut the kitchen, gut the bathrooms, because this house has pocket doors. That's how old it is. It has the pocket doors, the slide doors, and the one door is broke. They don't even make the piece anymore to fix it. So it just broke. And he said to replace, because of the shape of the door, and this house is very small and very old, he would have to cut out the whole frame to put a real door in there. And so he's like, you would have to leave the house because of the dust and the dirt. So just make it work.
Well, you probably don't know, but that's another topic. But it's the 10 of spades transforms into what?
King of diamonds.
I think that's a sign to fix it up. You really don't get no reward without the work, right?
And it's funny how she said attracted them. I didn't even put that together, because it does transform into a king. And I literally had 3 dudes up in here fixing shit. It's funny.
And then the 10 of spades has the 3 of diamonds. It's like if you don't invest, someone said, I just checked household equals 3 of diamonds. But also the 3 of diamonds actually is an empty house because they don't want to go out and buy anything. They worry about their money.
That's my transformation card, actually. And then my week ends today. Today's the last day of my week. And my transformation card this week is the 3 of diamonds.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Home is an empty house per se. I definitely can say my first time moving in, I had an empty home for almost a year. I don't know if that's normal, but
That's normal, he says. Well, Rashad, people living in an apartment empty after they rent it is probably not the most normal thing. No.
Well, you're a dude. I could see that for a dude, like having a bed or a mattress on the ground and like their clothes and they're straight. Like they don't need any. They really are very minimal.
I'm a minimalist. Like, yeah.
Well, I'm definitely noticing the hard work coming in, but the 9 moved a bunch of old stuff. Kind of just mostly say like old thinking. Like you know how we always even make like, oh, speak what you want into your life, say what you want. So like for whatever reason in the 9 of Spades week, I was just making statements in that 369 like in the night. Amazed at how much was moving because of my focus in that way. And I'm sitting here in my like office / little art room, and I have piles of work to do. Like this king has got work to do, like with the new job starting and the completing of the book stuff and things. Like I have so much work to do. So I'm grateful that some of the heavier emotional kind of thoughts, because I found in my 9 week that there was certain like lingering beliefs about myself or others that were creating I don't know, not clear circulation. I wasn't as productive. Do you know what I mean? Like I would get lost in the thoughts or something, or get attached to wishing it was different or that kind of silliness. And then the more I was able to speak it differently and let it move, I found more energy. And I feel like with this 10 of Spades, I need that energy. I can't be like, swimming around in the like, it should have never been like that, or no one understands me. Like, come on.
Yeah, that week was an interesting one for sure. Glad it was over. But at the same time, I there's highs and lows with it. You know what I mean? Like, that is probably the best thing, is having to learn how to ride the waves, because there's gonna be a wave. Like it's inevitable. It's a 9. It's gonna go up. It's gonna go down. And can you surf it the whole time? Can you stay in the surf, right? Because that's really the key. Because you can go. I learned that 9s are to the 9s. It can be big. It can be over the top. It can be too much. And that's kind of what was bubbling in my house. It got too, like, she took it to an extreme, but the result has been, something even better. So I can really see how the 9 transforms into a 10. I can see how it really can be a light at the end of the tunnel. I can see how it wants you to have more, but you have to be willing to let go of like you were saying, the attachments or the expectations and the beliefs, the things that you think it should have been. And you have to really be able to see it from a whole nother lens. That's the key. From what I've just been experiencing and learning and understanding, it's really being able to see it from a bigger perspective, way beyond what you probably even could have imagined.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. And there was a few blow-ups. There was some moments where I was just like, I was like, no way. Like just some things that I was like, what am I going to say? Because I'm always scared of my mouth. You know what I mean? Like it's a weapon, and when I get pissed, I'm scared of me pissed. You know what I mean? Because once it starts flowing from that current of creation, intuitive place, it doesn't mean I'm going to be nice once I'm pissed. You know what I mean? And then it's also like, who am I to get a pissed? Because everybody's really just being themselves. We were playing cards last night, like I said, and we were talking about relationships and how part of what the biggest struggle in relationships is you get mad at somebody for being them.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, what do you mean? Like, you got to learn to work with what they are and how they are. Like, that's the whole alchemy of it, right? Because to be so frustrated, like, I can't believe he did that. We shouldn't have done that. And to stay there because, your righteousness is like, I'm doing it right. They're doing it wrong. And now I need to tell everybody. Like, it's like, okay, now what? You know what I mean?
It's that part. Now I need to tell everybody.
And I gotta tell everybody because I'm right and they're not. So
that's the work there. And it's It's just when you really, I think the best thing about that is just being aware of that, that you can get to that point, that because I know for me that is one of my things too. It's
Mhm.
I know I can physically be like powerful too, but this is worse.
Yeah.
This is worse.
It's just like it knows what to say or do to get to the part that it wants to touch, right?
Yeah.
And like I've joked, I've told you all, as the bartender, I never needed a bouncer. Like, Maddie, you'll just say something to them and they'll start crying. Like, you need to take care of it.
I knew how to get people like
Right.
the same thing. It's you have Mars and Gemini.
Yes, I do. I know. I've identified our common threads. I've looked at those.
That makes so much
Well,
sense.
I have Mars and Venus in Gemini.
Oh, okay. So my Venus is in Leo, so I'm big with it too.
Yeah. So you might be a little meaner, but you might be a little bit more self-focused. I am all in the piece. I really do love everybody coming together. But when something seems really obvious to me, and I don't know how to like say it nicely, because I actually don't even think I mean to be mean. I think I struggle that I can't be nice because I'm so like, what the fuck? Like.
Dang, the king came out, right?
I laugh because it's very similar. Like I can get.
Well, I'm your Saturn card, So I mean, it's just like I relate to those 8 of clubs. Like I really do. Like we're kindred. You know what I mean? So I'm your Saturn card. So
it can be intense. It can definitely. But I understand, like, too, the high side of it. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. I think really that's just the key is, they're always going to be a high, low, up, down, whatever you want to look at it. And that's when your free will and your choice comes into play, is you choose from which part of that you're going to operate from or respond from or move to or whatever it may be,
Yeah. And then it's just being firm, really, because I feel like the nice part of what's leaving me, because I'm 59 and my Saturn return, and I want to tell you where my Pluto house is, because you were talking about that in this study group and I forgot. I really was like, I want to ask her what she thinks would be the biggest thing for me in my Pluto. I guess got to remember what the little Pluto sign what does the Pluto sign look like?
It is, doesn't it have like the thing at the middle, the circle with the things on the side? Right?
So mine's in Virgo.
Yeah.
In the 9th and 10th house, mostly 9th house.
And isn't your Pluto card a 10?
Yeah.
So you can relate it to the house, a 10, and 10 is the 10, that work, responsibility, the duty, so, and being Virgo, it could be over, over the top, I'm
a lazy workaholic. I've told you, very lazy workaholic.
So, Yep.
Yeah. So
and then the reward card is a 10 too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's one of the things that we were doing, with taking both the Pluto and the reward, and you really, really seeing, because I think that when you tie it to the astrology, it really opens up to a whole nother like level of understanding, because yes, this was a placement that you needed to get to the reward, right? You know what I mean? So I look at it differently. I can see it differently now. And I guess for me, I need a reward. I need to know that I'm going through this for a reason.
But it's funny because in order to get my 10, it seems I have to push through this 9, right?
Yeah.
Because it seems like, and it makes sense, because the things that do slow me down are the things that are like patterned and old and not even really true anymore. But I started to chew on them. Like I was talking to my grandson and I said, we're talking about feelings and how I was like, they really do want to move through. But if you get a feeling that you really like a lot and you grow it, you can grow a feeling that stays around all the time. So I think it's like those 9s are about like, what are you circulating? Do you know what I mean? What are you vibing on? What are you like holding? Because it is going to be your juice, right? Because if you're in the 9 saving everybody, then your juice is everybody. If you're in the 9 of like, I need to express myself so I can get to my 10, then you don't want to be saving everybody. You want to be focusing on life force on course, So that's how I've been thinking about it. But yeah, that makes sense. That it would be in the 10, 9, 10.
And the 9th house too, then you may have there's probably some, restrictions or very strong, maybe even rules to religion growing up. And, because the ninth house is like that higher learning, higher religion, it's Sag house, so your philosophies may have been challenged. You may have thought differently than what they thought growing up. And, there was maybe some challenges with the, expressing any spirituality. If you didn't think that this was like, especially I think you grew up Catholic too. So when you started to really see it, you're like, what is this? But your family structure came from that very, way of being. And, maybe in your you rebelled and questioned it, and God forbid, because, now you're a disgrace or whatever. I'm not saying that was your life, but I could see where if you go against the philosophies that were, brought to you and challenged it, there could be a lot of friction.
Well, yeah, because you're given ideals, right? And then in order to be successful at the game, you've got to live the ideals right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And even though you might have thought some of them are stupid, you were still being programmed in a way that you were taking them to bed at night.
Yeah.
So then when it's time to shine and be who you're here to be, you're like, oh, am I doing all the things I'm supposed to do? Am I doing it from a good place? Like I've told you guys, my wife calls me a conceited nun, because it's like, she's a jack too. She's a jack of clubs. She's freaking hilarious, that woman. I don't want to tell you what I call her because it's not nice, but I'll text it to you. Because there was a righteousness, right? When she says the conceited nun, it's like I take pride, still probably at times, in doing it the way I believe it needs to be done. You know what I mean? And I'm not in the church game. I'm in the now, like, what did I take from it and what am I building the house in? So it feels more like that.
Yeah, that makes sense, because that is Pluto, and it is a death and a rebirth. So you may experience death in one way of, how it was viewed or given to you, and rebirth it from your own point of view. Because that's the purpose, it's to really, Pluto is about taking back its power. It's taking back your power. It's not letting the trauma and the ancestral crap that's come from generation to generation to continue, especially if it wasn't healthy, if it wasn't good for you, if it wasn't constructive to your growth. So it really is about taking back your power and we were talking about it the other night. It's really about taking your pain into power. It's alchemy, really. And so because we all have it somewhere. We all have had, wounds in that house, that placement, and then add the aspects. You got some moon. I've been reading the Hades moon with it because I realized how intense that placement is for me and what it does to me, and what triggers it and what brings it up. So I've been doing a lot of reading on that to not do the same things I've done before. There's a lot of power struggle with relationships I see. So that makes sense because I have Pluto conjunct the moon.
Right.
So I have that very intense. Yeah. And then on top of
when
it,
you're powerful, you're powerful. You have to be able to know how you're going to use your power.
Right. But I feel like I tend to, when it comes to just any type, there's a power struggle. There's a power conflict. So I recognize that. And I recognize too that.
Look at you getting the healing from your 17-year-old self in the mirror of your house.
But it's kind of like a combination of things too, because like just any new relationship energy, I start to like go back. You can feel the certain things come and you're like, whoa, this is that. Like, this is what I have to work with, because it triggers you to go back to old ways, old habits, old thoughts. So I realized that that's important. And I'm grateful because I'm aware now. And I really do think that's the key. Awareness.
I mean, it's going to take the time it's going to take to reshape the rock. But once you're in awareness, you're paying attention to where the flow's going.
Yeah. And you have you're mindful of it. You're more, aware of what is happening. And when you sit with yourself, rather than just react or do something stupid, because that's definitely something I would do. I sit with it first, and then I really am like, okay, this is where it's coming from. And that's my thing. Don't project that. You know what I mean? Because that's the biggest thing is I have a 2 in Pluto. It's hello. So I have to be
it's over there. It's over there. It's over there.
So it's just a reflection too. So it's really dope. That's why I'm really excited to do this with Vontae starting in January. Is that the
That's
connecting?
very fun that you're bringing astrology cards together. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, as much as I want to play with you too, but I think we're always going to be playing together. I'm not really sweating it, but I know that from tracking you and loving you, that this astrology piece in the cards has always been a real, like, kind of like, ooh, you know, you've been into it. So to know that you're going to be with someone who he holds his information very strong, you know, so, and that's good. That'll get you just as strong back and really coming up with some clarity. I love it, honey.
And it's so beautiful to have, like, do that for other people, to take like their knowing the cards and then him knowing their placements in astrology, and the way we just put it together. It's pretty transformative, because astrology can be very complex. It's not to say that it's not easy, you know, not understandable, but I feel like if you have something else, because that's, for me, the cards were easier. I know that sounds, but they were just simpler for me to understand, I guess. Yeah. And now that I can take that astrology and put it there, it just blows it out. It just, you know, it gives you an even bigger picture, which is very much that 9 of clubs, the universal knowledge, being able to tie all of it in. You know what I mean? So I love it. It's been dope.
And to me, when I listened, and I don't go all the time to those conversations, but there seems to be fortifying what we've come to understand at the card table, that we're all learning the same lessons.
Right.
And we're all here in certain formulas, unpacking, like that string that Lewis talks about, like, you know, there's this path that's going to guide you, and you're going to have certain lessons, and you're going to learn them, or you're going to keep trying to learn them until you learn them, because your life's going to stay in a certain frequency until you can see it and live it on the high side. You know? So how is your 9 to 10 going, Rashad?
No, it's a full circle. Just to kind of piggyback from what you were saying. My 9 of spades, I guess, started for me. I realized I had to, like, in my weekly, I had a real bad lesson with the 9 of spades, with letting go materially, and just like the dissatisfaction, and talking about like work habits and those things. I also mentioned I had what was it? A 9 the other day, a 9 of hearts and Mercury, you know. So that was kind of a reminder of my 9 of spades and 9 of hearts. I have a 9 of spades and Neptune and a 9 of clubs normally. So I don't know. I think it can be very emotional, you know. I can say that I'm more on the putting back my emotions and making sure that I'm speaking my mind, you know. So I don't think I play out the King of Hearts as much, you know, if I'm looking at the 9 of spades, right? Because it's sitting in the King of Hearts space. So it's like walking with more confidence. I think we kind of talked about it last week, you know, the 9 of spades, 9 of clubs. Always need somebody to come through and like give them a pat on the back, or, you know, uplift them in some type of way, you know, inspiration, and inspire them, you know. So I think I'm like in this rebuilding phase of myself, you know, looking at the information where I'm at and getting more comfortable, and like as far as my journey, you know, and my life path. So I always look at 9s as a journey, you know. So there's always it's a death and a rebirth, you know, what you all were speaking about. So for me personally, and where I am, it's kind of like a rebirth, you know. I'm looking at the 10 of diamonds on the other side. And especially looking at the 10 of spades, this now, kind of like what you were saying, I'm feeling somewhat overwhelmed of like so much to do. Like Gina had, like the 10 of spades is you're gonna be overwhelmed. I think Aquarius kind of posted about it as well. Like it's a lot, kind of. And even says like having like that work life, home life balance, right? You have everything's working in the house, you have this going on, you have that going on. But it's like I don't know where to place it. And you have the fours that, so you want to be organized, like you have a 4 of spades and Pluto. So it's like like that household being organized, being disciplined, having all those things with the Pluto, like it may not be as structured or you know, trying to get it to that is like can probably trigger that Virgo and Pluto, right?
That's an interesting reflection, because I mean, the garage got cleaned out, the shed got cleaned out, the back room got cleaned out. I finished packing. Like, I mean, and the whole house is like, we're all doing it. And like, I'm like being general manager, but in the gentlest way. I'm like, okay, John, what are you doing? Let's get these lights out front. And like, my daughter was like, how are you getting this done? I'm like, I'm just in this mode.
The 10 of spades will give you a lot of physical power. It gives a lot, because you know, when you think about it, it's an increase of energy, and the spade, remember we talk about that water, you have to push through that. So it gives a lot of power, physical power, mental power, willpower, effort, determination, because it knows that's what it requires to get to that king of diamonds, which is mastery, confidence, authority, but even more prosperity. That's why it is a card of the workaholic.
All right, good. I'm glad I'm on course. But hey, there's something you said that I want to touch. Comfort. You know, I'm recognizing that, you know, comfort in chaos, or comfort in the same story, or comfort in the pattern, you know what I mean? Like, that part of what the 9 to 10 is, like releasing more of your comforts, right?
Yes.
I think that's probably where the shadow, like I was really looking for my shadow. Remember when I was telling you, I was like, what's with my shadow? What's my real shadow? I'm not seeing my shadow. And I actually believe that my shadow is connected to comfort. Right? Because there's, and not to say money doesn't give, but that's not what gives me comfort. Not that I don't want money. I say, yes, please God, send all I can use. But like the comfort of just like the people I know and like I joked the other day, I said, you know, I'm really not very friendly. You know what I mean?
You can't do that when I'm literally about to
Yeah, I can't help it. I'm on the stage,
will
girl.
come out.
I'm giving it up. You know, like, come on.
She said I'm not very friendly.
Because like I prefer my own things, you know, like I have people who I come to know and love and get close to and share with. And once we're in that sweet spot, that King of Hearts charisma that's mine, I'm like, oh, let's grow divine. But just like walking up and down the street with people you meet, I'm like, you know, I don't want to be talking to everybody. Do you know? So the new job started, and here I am, like, it's time to go out there and like be smiley and say hello to everybody and talk to everybody. And I'm like, golly, this is part of that comfort thing for me. Like, I'm not that friendly because I'm more comfortable just staying to me. So you both froze. So I don't know if I like broke the record or something, but that's what I'm just honestly.
No, I was I was getting the dates for the 10 of spades and doing it at the bottom. I can hear you, but I didn't know I'd go out. Well, I kind of figured I probably would go out, but I'm coming right back.
Oh, it's okay.
banner.
I'm just being honest with you guys so we can be real. That's what we do this for, right?
No, I actually said the same thing to myself.
I'm good company too, Elise. Come on.
I just had the same.
About the 9 of spades last week. I was saying
go ahead.
No, I was going to say they call it the hermit, but go ahead.
No, go ahead. Oh, what, the 9 of spades? Yes.
What?
I can see that, the 9 of spades, because my aunt is one, and she has hermit herself in the mountains of Montana. Like, she is and I listen. Being the Jack of Hearts, I've always been very social. Like, I worked in restaurants, I worked in hospitality, I've worked in that industry.
Oh yeah, when you gotta make money, I can perform. I'm just talking to you every day, but go ahead.
Well, no, from 14 until 36, I think is when I had Brooklyn. I was in that industry. So I literally spent my whole life with people, and with having her and then working from home, I am so damn comfortable not being around people anymore. Like, it's sad sometimes. Like, I jokingly say, my friend who I met, on Clubhouse, she lives close by. And I go, if it wasn't for her, me and the kid would never go out, because she's always finding events. And I'm like, okay, we should probably go do this. Or like, if you don't get me, like, my kids know if we come home, I seldomly ever go back out. Like, if you don't get, you got to get me on the way, or once I come in the house and the bra cut, it's a wrap. I'm not leaving again. Like, and I love being home. And when I do go out, I'm like, oh, this is why I don't go out. I love I don't mind it. I don't miss the scenes. I don't miss the people. We went down to this like holiday thing, it's a lot of people, and it's just a lot of energy, I guess, for me, that I'm just like, I'd rather go back home, but the kid likes to play, so.
Yeah, so all
But
to
being
say,
emotionally,
comfort is a part of it, like the comforting your people. Go ahead, Rashawn.
no, I was gonna say just being emotionally intuitive, like how they say, like people who go out and they get anxiety, or like they feel the consciousness of people, like even like psychics. Like I can't imagine a psychic going out and just being around a lot of people. So,
Especially if you
like,
can hear them, if you can hear their voices or you can hear their thought, you going nutso.
right, right. The lady that I called my mentor, I never. It's like this is like the Ace of Spades, Jack of Spades. Like you get initiated through the experience, because you'll never believe these things if you don't experience them. Like you would never think of someone being psychic and those things. So that's the purpose and the thought pattern between being initiated. Because, and also the Jack of Spades was just in Aquarius class earlier today, and she was talking about the Jack of Spades, like it's a neophyte, like it has like new ideas, it's an inventor, like these are things people may not have seen or heard, the Ace of Spades. So, but just going out in public, because the Nine of Spades has the King of Hearts, the Nine of Clubs has the Queen of Hearts, and the Ten of Spades is also emotionally intuitive, as well. So, and caring. So, going out in public and draining yourself, and we'll talk about the Nine of Spades. And last week about that Four of Clubs, and not letting people knock you off of um, your mindset, or you being like mentally stable, your peace of mind, right? Because it has the non-space has in Saturn, was it? Okay, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. So having psychic interferences, right? So it's like my lady friend, my mentor, she's at the dinner table with my aunt, and it's like somebody behind her, she just get this thing where somebody behind her, she's like, "You're pregnant, right?" And the lady was like, "What? I haven't even told nobody." Like,
Wow.
so
Yeah.
it's like, how do you stop those things and people and these messages from coming to you, right?
Yeah.
So it's like being out in crowds. I can see like how it can be the hermit, and how going out in
Mm-hmm.
public can be draining when you emotionally intuitive.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you not say it, right? I started this job, and this girl's training me, so I can't help it if I get connected to one person, like to just be in their field or to just be aware. And at least 3 or 4 times, I just was like, "Oh, da 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 da," like I would just, and she just started crying, and I was like, "Fuck, I gotta stop!" Like, and like, and it wasn't mean stuff I was saying. It was just because it was touching her so deeply, and it was unexpressed. Right. So the unexpressed is obviously what I hunt for, or something, as a therapist. So it's like, that's where I went. And I've been really putting into my prayer that, like, help me say what I need to say when I need to say it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's really great how I've gotten so much better at saying what I need to say when I need to say it, and not just saying everything. Because in the name of transparency and feeling like I'm a king and they're not, and I just want everyone to know it's fair and yada yada, it's like, no, you need to only say what you need to say when you need to say it. You need to stand and honor this position. Because, like, my way of meeting the world as an intuitive person is, I'm the bird in the tree. I'm watching everybody. I'm a watcher. I'm an observer. Even in the clubs, I just watch and listen and like pay attention. And then when it's my turn, be as honest as I can be and be as fair as I can be. But like, only if I get an intuitive sense or something internal that says, go to that person or go see, like, then I'll move towards a person. And even then I won't speak. I'll just get closer so that maybe my energy can support it. Because I've learned that once you do that, like, I've had friends who know I'm like this, and they'll be like, all right, this is happening. What do you think? And I'm like, I think that you shouldn't be calling me because I'm not a psychic client. I'm like, don't do that. Like, grow your own intuition. No. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's how I am, because it's not mine to share. But as a younger person, I'd be like, well, but that's bullshit. Like, I don't want to, that's no power in that, taking someone else's ideas and telling them how to be. Like, if I like think something intuitive, like I've done to both of you times, like, I can see you doing this, I can see you doing this. Do whatever you want with it. I'm just telling you what I saw.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I love you, whatever you do.
Yep. Yeah, that 9 of Spades energy is it's I really do feel, because going back to what Rashad was saying, and in the spreads, I've noticed that the 9s and the kings travel together, and I think for reason of maturity, because when you're able to let go of something that you wanted or had or whatever, it does require a lot of maturity. It requires a lot of growth. It requires a lot of that, because you have to see that 9 is going to go to a 10 next, and 3 of them transform into a 10, which wants to give you more, wants to give you the increase, because really preparing you to get to the king, because that's the goal, right? To get to our higher personality, the queen, the king, or operate from the king of spades energy of God, of a higher self, of a higher purpose. So when you can really change your perspective on the 9s, that you needed that, even though in the moment it may not have felt like you needed it, like you really much rather have skipped over it, but at the same time, to grow, to mature, to understand the whole purpose of the process of whatever it may have been, was really to bring you to a bigger, better place. That requires a lot of maturity. It requires a lot of being able to shed skin. It requires able to really take that leap and to kind of go into that space. And even when you don't know what the purpose was for, I think that's when it's real sticky, because all right, I let it go, now what? It's having that patience and having that faith that something even bigger and better is to come. And it may not come when you think it will, because that's part of letting go.
Patience. Yeah. Divine timing is the only timing.
Right.
And the rest of it. And I think maturity in the simplest language is getting over yourself.
Yeah.
Right? Because when you're younger, you grow an idea of yourself to try to prove that you're not whatever messed up thing you think you might be, or to make sure someone loves you, or whatever the heck, right? So once you can get to where you're over that idea of you and you're just there to be the energy, because, we are just beings of energy that are sharing spaces, right? And hopefully meeting in grace, right? Yeah. But did you see in the chat these couple of things that are coming up about what would you all think about a Jack of Hearts / 9 of Spades in the Mercury period in a yearly spread? From M. Williams. What would you all think about a Jack of Hearts / 9 of Spades in the Mercury period in a yearly spread?
Jack of Hearts. Go. I have to see the comment. Maybe I'll see it.
It's under Cosmic saying thank you all. And Grand Rising is Mars Honey after, and it's a orange M.
I'm trying to understand like which spread it is. So the Jack of Hearts is a stagnant card. It doesn't move anywhere, and it has the 9 of Spades. So what card are you? And so I'm guessing that you're displacing the 5 of Spades. I would assume, right, Gina?
Yeah, they have the Jack of Hearts and Mercury. They're displacing the 5 of Spades. I could see that as a few different ways. One, you may have to mature your mind, because Jack of Hearts can be very immature mentally. The 5 of Spades can be very immature mentally. And so being able to let go of any fixed notions of thoughts or beliefs, there could be an element there. Those are very humanitarian cards as well. There could be the essence of helping others. But again, one of the biggest things that you're going to need to do is put that oxygen mask on yourself first. Don't try to save everybody by suffocating yourself. You may feel like a hero or, this noble energy. But again, having boundaries is going to be extremely important throughout the whole year, not just through that 52-day period, because you'll have the tendency to want to overgive, overshare, overhelp, and you'll exhaust yourself. And you don't want to do that. Learning the power of saying no and without any guilt. There could be some sacrifices made around children, though, or people of younger age. Again, the biggest thing is having boundaries. If you're sitting in the house of a 5 of Spades, you're going through a lot of changes. So changing your mindset, not getting stuck in your beliefs, really initiating, because there is an initiation that's going to come, but you're going to probably have to let go of some things. There could even be a death and a rebirth in some way, shape, or form with that 9 of Spades. That's just a little from that.
Yeah, there are 4 of Spades, they said, and yes, the 5 of Spades. I always just play with the words the way they meet me, and I just think of it when you say Mercury, that it's communication. And I think about even the communication between the Jack of Hearts and the Nine of Spades. Do you know what I mean? And like, because I do systems therapy and people talk to parts, it's like, what do you want to say when you understand what it is to live in the nine and to have that kind of heart of Christ consciousness? Like, what do you want to communicate? Because again, what you speak, what you create, that they go together, right? You vibrate into the world what you bring back. Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, like what you said, growth and development, especially being a 4 space, sitting in the 5 space. That's
Mm-hmm.
because it's like you that for that 5 of spades is challenging you to grow. Step into to the 5. And using that on the spiritual spread, it'd be your Mercury. So it's kind of almost like home, almost in a sense. Well, I wouldn't say that because it really displaces the which club is it? I mean, heart, the fourth heart, not four of hearts, but
Which one? The four spades?
the 10 of hearts. Yeah,
Oh.
it's the 10 of hearts. Um, so that's really the home of it, right? But the 5 of spades usually sit there, so it's like this knowing, but not to get too deep in that because it's but the Jack of Hearts, 9 of spades, right? So the Jack of Hearts, kind of like you said, talking to the sacrifice, growth and development, changing your work, your habits, and I had to say, like, death and the rebirth. You just want to watch around like family members. Looking at how you be sacrificing yourself. Making certain particular changes because the 5 is about improvement. Steady improvement on yourself. And Jack of Hearts can be saving other people as well, right? So looking at, like I said, the people around you and making sure it's not looked at as sacrifice, but also like a gift that keeps giving. That's why I was kind of thinking about the 10 of spades as well today, because it is like a gift. The tens all have nines around them, right? The 10 of diamonds has the 9 of spades. Both of the nines turns into tens. So it's like this cycle, it's like this gift that keeps giving is what their mission is to be doing. So the nuns are humanitarians, ultimately, so it may be someone around you that may need something. So looking at what are you giving, how can you give it? But if your cup isn't full or you have expectations or you're not where you want to be, it may just be improving yourself and seeing how you can get to that point where you can give or gain more knowledge or information or experience in your occupation, job, or whatever it may be, so you can be able to um, empower. But yeah, but
Depending
that's
on
it.
but
What?
as I say, depending on what they are, because they transform into the Queen of Spades, it's
Well,
a female.
that's what she said. They make sense with the Queen of Spades transformation. And like,
And if
wouldn't that?
that's a well, if that's a female, then there's a potential of mother, becoming. I'm putting on the age too, because Jack of Hearts represents children, and the Queen of Spades is the ultimate mother, so that's also a possibility. But there would other cards would also dictate that as well. Um, but since the fact that the transformation card is the Queen of Spades, there is a lot of taking back your power, a lot of, seeing how powerful you are and getting rid of a victim mindset. Because that's the other part of that Jack of Hearts being in Mercury is playing a victim. And that 9 of Spades supports you letting go that you're not a victim, that whatever may have transpired was needed for your growth and maturity. And when you can look at it from a new perspective and see it from a bigger point of view, then you understand the reason you're transforming as the Queen of Spades is to have these experiences so you can take this wisdom, this knowledge, this mastery, and then help other people serve, because the queens are here to serve.
Yeah, realizing your purpose.
Yeah.
Or maybe a purpose, or for the year. It's not saying purpose for life. We can just for the year. Like I had someone that had a 7 that came into their life, and it was like their Pluto or reward card. One might have been their reward card, and that person needed help. So they kind of felt kind of like obligated at that particular point, and they never like really felt so in that person's life until then. So it was like the perfect timing. So also you can look at people in your lives that may come up in your spread as well throughout the year, because sometimes they'll come up, or pop up in your life and you haven't talked to and spoke to them in a long time. But that's how the cards work. A lot of times, looking at the spread, really, you can see these people come up. Babies. That's good. Are you having kids? I'm so nosy. I've never been nosy. Guess we can go through the other comments too. My four of hearts. Oh my gosh, she turned 18 and wants the house. Yeah, four of hearts can be psychic as well. That's Halloween as well. So I always look at the four of hearts. That's what I was saying earlier. Like when we first started, Gina was talking about like Mercury retrograde, and also looking at like that as like a and then the Aquarius class was about Mercury being like Quicksilver and helping things kind of manifest faster as well. But just it being a portal and looking at that, like the Four of Hearts. I don't know if you ever seen Halloween Town. I think it's like Halloween. It's like this portal opens up on Halloween. And you see like ghosts and like the underworld, and you can travel to this like different spiritual world. And I see that like the Four of Hearts and like the Ace of Spades.
Yeah.
Gina says like, and what reminds me of that also, Gina mentions like the Ace of Spades being you can see dead people. So, and even the Ten of Spades, and I was thinking about the Ten of Spades and the Four of Hearts, just the ancestors, right? When and altar building and having that connection and that family, like that work, that house and that home, that work in that home life balance, trying to keep in those two balance. So like this obligation, and we were talking about the Ten of Diamonds being the ancestors, right? So this obligation to like the family and work life and being a portal. And what's funny, what you was talking about earlier, I was asking for clarity and wisdom, just from my ancestors, like just point me to the right direction, like please, like just give me the wisdom to make the right decisions just for myself and my future self, and maybe if y'all want to come back in this lifetime, like so that was my prayer last night, not even for the clarity or the psychic ability to use it to manipulate things, just so I can have clarity to see the future for myself and what I'm supposed to be doing and making the right decisions.
That's a good prayer to have, is ask for that clarity. One of the like best things you can do, I don't know if you would do this, but do that in a bath form, like take a bath and use the salt water to kind of clear away any of that stuff, because it helps to remove, and then like as you like kind of bless the bath and ask for clarity over it, and that it takes away any of the confusion, is a good practice to have, especially doing the work that you do and being out. You want to cleanse that your energy, because I think those threes can take on a lot of stuff too. So I do it is one of my biggest things is to be able to do that. I cleanse the space. And I really ask for clarity and clearing, because I have to clear when you do readings and you're dealing with people. I have to clear the energy, because I get too attached. So I can get very attached. So I have to be able to, release it. And I want to make sure I'm in a healthy space to do the readings. Like I can't. That's why last week I could not come on here. I just was not in a space to be able to even do this. So
Did you listen to our show?
I haven't had a chance to, but I will. I'll go back and listen to it. But yeah, I know me, and that's one thing I'm very grateful that I've had, but much better self-awareness. And I'll even, like, when I have recorded readings to do, my clients know I'm not in a good space. I won't fake it, and I'll notify you that your reading will come the next day, because I would much rather me be in a space where I'm not like trying to, because I don't want that energy to infiltrate their reading, because it will. And it's crazy, because remember what Aquarius had, one of the first things that she said to us was, you'll find one that you're going to show up a lot of times when people come, you're in their spread. But what I've noticed in people's weekly readings, and remember her saying this, a lot of times you're actually reading yourself. There's so many times that what you're reading is like, God dang, this is just like, I needed this.
Yeah, totally.
Like they're sitting in the same car that I've been dealing with all damn week. In my own stuff.
There's themes and all of it. It all comes. Yeah. Yes. And the speaking it, like, so the word you were saying, Rashad, but as I'm in this clarity, I'm feeling so much better. This clarity is helping my focus come in, and I'm being able to put myself in one or two places that really matter now. And that's giving me a sense of release, and I'm feeling more peace, right? Because you want to grow the feeling that you want, because sometimes when we're doing the give me this, like we're still anxious when we're saying it, right? Because we're just like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. It's like, start to speak it like you have that peaceful feeling, and you're growing the gratitude for that feeling, that sense of like knowing where your feet go and being able to live your life in a balanced way, and what it's bringing to your creativity, and how much more release you feel from the stress you used to hold when you weren't sure, because this clarity is so strong and loud now. Do you know what I mean? So it's just a thought. So what are you saying, JLo? We have contracts we don't even know about. So cleansing it is 100%, simply because it can be that easy to complete the contract, because we are conscious and cleansed all unknown aspects of the day. All right.
Yeah, that's my biggest things. These contracts I have no idea about. How did I get myself in this situation?
Well, I guess you must be more masterful at contracts than you think.
Yeah, go to Donald Trump, I guess.
Yeah. I wonder about the contracts, because I do think that they come to play in our life, and that certain characters are in our life, like, oh, remember me, let's do this, let's do that. But it really has to be in alignment to your clarity and what you need to do right then, because it's like that loyalty stuff, like that friend to lend you $500, so you think you got to go give him your $200, but you don't really have $200 to give him, even though he lent you $500 one day. Do you know what I mean? And you got to like let his $500 come whenever they come.
That's the 7 of diamonds for the 10 of spades. Speaking of, and I also think of the 6 of diamonds and 6 of hearts. You know, because we're talking about contracts and debts and love and those things. 6 of hearts has a 6 of diamonds and Saturn. You know, so what comes with those karmic relationships and those ties is that 6 of diamonds. You know, you can't really get away from that. The 10 of spades has the 7 of diamonds and Saturn. You know, it's like someone comes along and they need money. I wouldn't count on you getting that money back. Like I'm not, you know, whatever needs to
So
be done.
So if I
So
have the 7 of diamonds year, and the 10 of spades is the 7 of diamonds Saturn, 7 of diamonds is 10 of spades Saturn card, that's probably playing out, yeah.
I'm sorry, say that again. You
So
said that.
it's a 10 of spades week, right? And you just said that the 7 of diamonds was a Saturn card for it, and I'm living in the year of the 7 of diamonds right now, and I do find my money brain being very differently wired.
Hmm.
Like, I'm not losing my faith in things, but the way I'm thinking about money and moving with money, it's like there's a different consciousness about it. Like, I'm thinking about it not even like an attached way, in a like building way, conscious of the value. Like it's just different. I feel different this year with that 7 of diamonds. So
I
I
think
just
that's dope that it's the Saturn card, because to me it makes so much sense, because the tens are essentially one with your higher self, and having that 7 of diamonds in Saturn is about your own internal, I always say that millionaire mindset, that millionaire, and take the green paper money. It's a wealthy mindset. It's an abundant mindset. I was just having this conversation with somebody yesterday about how, we, and it's not even just the mindset. Honestly, you got to even go deeper, because if you don't feel you're worthy of it, or you don't feel you deserve it, you won't ever attract it. And that's the key to that. So them having that 7 of diamonds in Saturn is really telling of how much they can succeed. And again, how bad do you want it? How bad are you willing to, put in that work? And how bad do you know that you deserve it and that you're worthy of it? Because that is literally a card of law of attraction. That's what those sevens are. They're law of attraction. You're either going to attract wealth, you're going to attract prosperity. That's why millionaires don't, again, when you put it in the context of the millionaire's card, and how I kind of like, millionaires don't have a broke mindset, because they'd be broke. And they don't, even when they lose money, they don't go into a lack and a fear, because they have to stay, okay, I've lost $1 million, but all right, that, and they keep that frequency of abundance. There will always be more. And you also have to understand too, but those sevens, it tests your, no matter what seven it is, it really does. It's an internal test of your own, because it's that inside out 10-1 in your higher self. So whenever that 10 of spades is operating from that wealthy mindset, it makes sense why they would then, earn that king of diamonds, if you will, to transform into of wealth, of prosperity, of abundance. But it's also maturing that mindset. It's all connected. It's really crazy. I never saw it like that, but now I do.
Yeah. I like seeing it with you. I agree.
Because it's so important, like that you are, like, I think that, and that goes for everything, money, relationships. If you don't internally feel you are worthy of it, you will, that is your fight. That is your fight. And until you get that, like, you can speak it, but if you don't internally believe that you deserve it, you will reject it. Even when
that's where judgment comes in, right?
Yeah.
So much of what we do to make ourselves stay in line or be good is we judge ourselves and we judge others. Even those conversations after you're right and you got to go tell everyone else you're right. It's judgment, right? It's always judgment. So even that judgment of worthiness and value, that's like you really need to come to recognize that was a judgment probably based on, like, I was supposed to get that A and I got a C, or I started my job and one of these young girls, like, she was like devastated because she got a D on something, and like just judging herself so harshly because of her idea of because she worked really hard, but she still got what she got, right? So, but the thing is that judgment becomes sedentary rock, you know what I mean? It becomes ways that you say, well, I did that, so I don't get to do that, or I have this, so and those are lies. Right? Because everything wants to come to you. The universe, Diamond would say, comes to you right at your feet. Like everything you need, the people that you end up doing readings for, they're for you. Like everything, the universe is a troll that wants us whole. Like it's always working for our acceptance of ourselves. But it's those judgments.
It's our self-limitation, and that's what those sevens will show you where they are. It'll bring your fears to the forefront for a reason, not to fuck with you, but to really show you this is the source. So see it and then do something about it. And I've had the 7 of clubs so strongly in my spread every week.
Oh, you're in the 7 game too. You got
well, it's my reward card for the year because I'm in the spirit spread. So I've noticed that it really is so important. Like this is a woo. But again, just being aware. And why do you respond this way? Why do you start creating scenarios around? And then you realize it's old triggers, it's old wounds, it's stuff that you weren't even aware of that you're doing. But now that you're in a space of being aware, you will. It doesn't mean I won't like repeat it, but I am just more aware of that. I'm more conscious of it. And I think that's the key of it. And I'm here for it. I'm also here, like, bring it up so I can stop it. I don't want it no more. I'm not afraid of it anymore. Let's get it out. Like, however I got to get it out. So, but I realize it's relationships that trigger it all. So I have to.
Because it's those little comments, like the women we came from. Like, I mean, my mom, did you hear this? Don't tell me this. Like we have these little commentaries that come in when we hear about certain people. Like, I'll hear it in my brain. Somebody just like, oh, they're probably doing this. I was like, what is that? What? That's none of your business. First of all, where's that even come from? But if I take a bite out of it and I decide to like make it a conversation and then share it, I'm growing garbage. I'm growing toxic reflection. I'm growing like reasons not to believe, you know what I mean? Like the vein of separation when there's nothing to be separate from. It's just entertaining ourselves in like low-grade toxic ways. Like, and I think sometimes, and no offense, because I'm the older generations, but there'd be bonding over negativity. There'd be bonding over talking about people. When the kids came into the house, it wasn't like, let me look at you and love you. It's like, why'd you do that? What's with this? You should have done this. So that kind of stuff is the stuff that lays in our brains until we're like, that's not helpful. And I don't really want to talk to you anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like we're breaking up, like I don't want to talk to that part of me that thinks she should make comments about people. Like, don't make comments.
Yeah. It's, as you start to see, you know, with your your family and the verbiage, and you see that it just is, it's just cycles and cycles of the same verbiage, and until you get tired of the verbiage, you get tired of the what was there, and you're like, no, I know there's more, and I won't live in this lack anymore. I won't live in this cycle of not being worthy or deserving. And it's not even it's and it wasn't, that's not even my, like, it's someone else's restrictions that were given, you know, put on me in those early formative years that I, you know, you work to break. But it's not an overnight fix. It's really a lot of work, but I'm here. I don't mind doing it now, because I do see that the universe will dance at your feet when you really, 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 really do the work, and you understand why these things come to not, again, it's not to punish, it's not to be a victim. It's really so that you can be aware of it, so you can maybe then fix it. Because that's the thing I've noticed in the readings and everything is too, it's like there's, you all the plates do is just repeat themselves. You go from the, you know, in a week, you know, in a 7 week, in the year, you start to see it's just repetitive cycles. So the next time that like 7 of clubs comes in Pluto, because and that was another thing too. I have such a, my mind is, I remembered things and I connected to the days. I had that 7 of clubs in Pluto one. This was like maybe almost 2 years ago. And that week was hell. Like I really saw the power of your mind, the power of your thoughts, and how I was tripping and creating things that were just like, it was scary where my mind was going. And then maybe a few months ago, I had the 7 of clubs in Pluto, and it's the moment it started to do the negative talk, the pessimistic, you know, bringing me into what I call that quicksand of the mental, right? And dragging, I said, no, you know, and I was aware of what was happening. Mm-hmm. And that's when I shared in the class how I saw, go look at the cards for that week. And it just, okay, it's you. And that's what, it was such an eye opener that it was not an outside entity at all. Because I hadn't even told anybody I was doing this. Nobody knew at that point in time but me. And so it was me convincing myself. And if I can convince myself that it's going to be shit, I can also convince myself that it's going to be amazing. And that's what you realize. That's when you realize the power of that you have.
Yeah, and that's the road out of depression. Yeah, to learn to accept what it is and speak about it as part of your classroom, and not be griping and complaining and pushing it down. I mean, that's the difference on whether or not the energy is going to run up or stay stuck.
I could have, because nobody knew yet. And I think I had made a post. I could have canceled it. I could have let fear convince me that no one was going to sign up, that no one wanted me to do that. And look at what I did. You know what I mean? So that was amazing to me. So that 7 of clubs, that I've had it this week as a vertical card. And I'm like, oh my God. But I get it's so showing up so strong because I'm, you know, it's my reward card for the year. So in my years, I'm halfway through my year almost. I'm in my Mars period still. So it's strongly coming, but I see why, you know, and I appreciate it because it's you know, whenever I see it in people's spreads for readings, I'm like, your mind is trying to spiritualize, you're trying to alchemize, you're trying to change that negative into positive. It is not easy, but I promise you, just pay attention to where your thoughts go. And if you're aware of them, that's the remedy, is to just be mindful of them. And I always tell people, sometimes you have to move your body. I'm always joking about going and play, do something fun so that you can get out of the head trap that you may be in and start to move that energy. Because if you don't move it, it will take you down. It will bring you, it'll drag you to the quicksand of hell. And you're just like, trying to get out of there. So it's intense, but the power of the mind, the power of the tongue is beautiful when you understand.
Yeah, when you said that, I was thinking of the Pluto is the 5 of diamonds for the.
For what?
The Pluto is the 5 of diamonds for the 7 of clubs.
It's the Jack of diamonds, I think.
The Jack of diamonds?
For life, yeah, I believe so.
Jack of diamonds. Oh, it has the 5 of diamonds Mercury. That's what it was.
Yeah.
5 of diamonds Mercury. Yeah, I think they can go into like very negative thought patterns. They Pluto's a spade, you know, so they get themselves up mentally, you know.
Yeah.
Hitting that Neptune Saturn, it's pretty tough. I think, can be doubtful, fearful, scared of the future, what may come. Almost as scared as the Six of Clubs, maybe. But yeah. Something else that I was going to say about the nines and the sixes. Oh yeah, the habits and the routines send the success. When you create a ritual around overcoming and from like the 7, 8, 9, is some of the toughest times. Those are like the
Mm-hmm.
and especially the eight of spades. Pluto is the 7 of clubs, right?
Yes.
So they can have it very tough mentally and go
Yes.
points of disappointment and fear, and maybe get into altercation in some instances, just based upon someone believing in something different, and so it can be considered like one of those fighting cards. But yeah, it can be a tough time. I definitely seen the 7 of clubs. That has been my arch nemesis for the past year. So like me, that card as a person, as a card, they have showed me the dark side of the 7 of clubs and not following your intuition. It was a 6 of clubs first class, I think, earlier, and we're talking about the 6 of clubs, not listening to themselves and not doing certain things. The 7 of clubs, if the 6 of clubs is not following your intuition, the 7 of clubs is like someone coming to you, talking to you in your face, and you just believing a complete lie. And it may be the mirror, it's like either a mirror or a person. It's like either
Mm-hmm.
or somebody else. So that's how that works.
Well, I think too, when you look at the 7 of clubs having a 5 of diamonds as a Mercury and a Jack of diamonds as in Pluto, you can see the power of it. They have to elevate from, that 5 being in Mercury. That's where if they can't ground that mind, if they can't, then because kind of going back to what you were saying, the 7s, the 8s, and the 9s are some of the more, because the 7s are the first initial bridge. They are the first initial from the mundane to the spiritual. And so it requires the 8s, 9s, and 10s require higher levels of accountability, responsibility, maturity. And then when you get to the Jack, which is another initiation for what I call the peasant energy to the royal energy, right? Then that's to get to the queens and the kings. So that 7 of clubs has a feat in itself to operate from either the swing. That Jack and Pluto is part of the swing, part of that. Which side of the fence am I going to be on? The negative side or the positive side? The peasant side, the master side, however you want to view it. The faith, the fear side or the faith side. And with that 5 of diamonds in Mercury, they have to really, get control of that mind. And if not, it's like that wash spin cycle that I say the 5s are, because it can get out, it can get restless, and that's when I think they hermit, they can go really deep, dark within, and and kind of get stuck there too. So they have, because truthfully, that 5 just wants more, right? It's seeking higher value. So if it can connect the 5 of diamonds in that Jack of diamonds, I think they can really see the power of, it's okay to want more. It's okay to explore. Just don't you have to really step out on faith, and knowing that when things do change, when things are shifting, because that's a big part of the 7 anyways, is being able to let go of your attachments, your beliefs, what you thought it was supposed to be, see it for what it is, and then move accordingly. You know what I mean? And not be so attached. That 5 really wants you to be free. So don't be so attached to certain things coming a certain way. See that if it's changing and it's redirecting you, maybe it's actually for your higher good, because you have to get to that Jack of diamonds to initiate yourself from a higher set of values. Again, the internal, because the Jack of diamonds, I jokingly say it's the only diamond card I give the Rico Suave title to, because it attracts. It's a very attractive energy. So what are you attracting? Are you attracting peasant energy or royal energy, right?
Yeah. And then you talk about the 5s wanting freedom. They're connected to those 9s as well. So what are you about to say, Manuel?
Well, I'm not saying anything. I'm just banging on the drum. I'm just listening. I wasn't saying anything. I was just listening.
But yeah, so that it's, you know, and then the I find too that you start to see that the cards and the spreads all are traveling together, and that's probably why I'm really good at like seeing it in that way, because you start to see that they it doesn't matter what plate it is, you're specifically will have aces and sevens together, because you see the ace is the self, the seven is the source, so that's why they're together. The sevens want you to see yourself as the plug, as the source. You're either going to be a source of abundance and positivity or a source of negative, lack. You choose. And until you take that accountability and that response, because the sevens and the sixes are very much about you getting back what you put out. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the key of it all, is being aware of what it is that you're putting out, and if you don't like what's showing up, change it. Because if you created the shit show, you can create the happy.
I think the whole thing is forgiving yourself when you're stupid.
Right.
I really think there's a big part of that, right? Because like, Gina, I'm just making you laugh a lot today. But
it's true though, because it's having grace that you didn't know you
did it. Like it's like catching it. It's like tripping and being like, I can't believe I tripped. It's like, oh my gosh, I tripped. All right, pack it back up. Like just accepting that, like I fell into the puddle and step out of the puddle, right? Because what I've learned in working with addiction and people is like, once we're in it, we just keep staying there because we feel so bad about being there. Yeah, like it starts a cycle. Do you know what I mean? And if it's in the family, then it's an even bigger cycle. I mean, it's a freaking parasite, for God's sake.
Well, you'll victimize yourself. That's the problem. That's what happens. You then victimize yourself to the circumstances that you actually created.
But the thing about the victim story and that triangle, which I know I've talked about before, but like, if you're a victim, there has to be a persecutor and a hero. And usually the people involved in those triangles are all changing spaces all the time. Mm-hmm. So it keeps everybody like, well, you're as messed up as me. Well, but it's really just like a holding tank for your creativity and your life force. Because anytime you're in that triangle of hero, victim, persecutor, you're pretty much low vibing it and pointing fingers.
Right. And that's why I say, because because you're not taking accountability for what you did. Yeah. For your actions, for your response. You can't, that's another thing too you learn, is you can't control how someone else responds or doesn't, but you have the power to control how you do. And I think we give our power to others. We have this, and that's too being,
that's a cop out. It's like, I would if they didn't do that.
Right.
Oh,
right. Right. And that's the thing, we give them too much power. We give them, even in relationships, like if he didn't call, he didn't text, like you've given this person so much power over your mood, your frequency. Like
I've done it, it's gross.
Same. And then you start to realize and that's where you have to have and that's where I think I laugh a lot, because I'm really laughing at myself because I realize what are you doing? Like, duh, like come on now. And that's the thing, have grace with yourself. You're a human being in this space right now, just trying to figure it out.
Or you're a spiritual being having a human experience, and the cards are making it a pretty vivid thing with this human experiences, and your choices are pretty much what you're putting in the cup or not putting in the cup.
Right.
And that's kind of as simple as it is. And we can make up all the things we want and track everybody and prove that we can see it before it happens. But the bottom line is, we're spiritual entities having a human experience, and the cards and the tarot and the astrology are giving us clues to our human experience so that we can take the ride and evolve.
Yep. And that's the beauty of the cards, the astrology, is you really see when you're able to look into your spread, and when certain things start to happen, and you lean into the energy more, you understand more, you don't resist it. And I think that's the key, is that there's no more resisting in it, because you understand, I need to for me personally, I have to experience certain things to finally be like, oh, okay, I get it now. And
ages too. You're 45, you're 44, you're at that age where it's like a newborn baby, Right. I mean, you're getting to clean the slate by nature.
Right.
Nature is helping you see it in new ways, shaking the
And
dirt
that's
off,
what I'm so
right?
grateful. I am so grateful because
Everything that's happening to you right now is rebirth energy. That's one of the reasons I cheer for it and want to track it, because you're watching it and you're seeing what happens, because it's happening to everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone at that age and stage is getting a reset, re-clear. Let's look and not make it about me and blame somebody and see what the hell's really going on.
Yep. Yeah. It's been incredible. And I'm so grateful that I, ended up here. I obviously wanted to. And I'm I'm grateful because it's I was telling somebody yesterday, I was like, it's changed my life, and it's not that it hasn't been, it has its ups and downs, but you learn to surf it. You learn to appreciate it rather than resist it. You understand why certain things play out or take the timing. The timing is when you start to see it really align up. What am I resisting? What am I fighting against? What am I doing?
Like, oh, life's great. You have everything you need. There's going to be problems and they're going to come and they're going to go. Okay, so what do you want to wear today?
Right.
That's it. And like, how do you want to meet it? Because even the choices are going to repeat themselves. No offense, God, but the choices are going to repeat themselves. So you're going to actually get to do them all at different times.
I was like, yeah, I can. There's an astrology that questions will. What is free will? Is it really free will, or we just replaying cycles or things that was supposed to happen? And I always look at the definition, manifest destination. I think that we all have a sense of purpose and right to be who we are and go to our own, manifested places in life, fun. And it can look shitty sometimes, but again, that's all based upon what you're manifesting through your head as well.
Or just your dip in the dark night of the soul, because that's what gives you humbleness and compassion when you see other people riding the train holding on with their fingernails. Do you know what I mean? Like, everybody goes through those different times, and it's not only about your mind. It's about, how do you accept loss? How do you accept love? How do you push yourself for things that are hard? How do you discipline yourself where you need to? Like, all of that is the life school classrooms for every soul.
Yep, it is, because you realize, and when you're aware of the energy in the cards, why I know that Ten of Spades can be so much physical power is I had it as a daily card, and I take my classes, right? Well, that day I didn't hear the instructor say to change the weight, and I had left it what it was, and we were doing a different exercise, so it was a very heavy weight, but I didn't and I am jumping and I am killing it. And halfway through, I was like, why am I so? And they were like, you have 3 times the weight on. I'm like, oh my God. But I was killing it. I felt this power. And I was like, no, don't take it off. I actually like it. But I was like, God dang. And then when I went back home, I was like, oh my God, the Ten of Spades. I actually appreciated the physicality that came. Because I'm a very physical person too. I like to test myself. But that day, that strength that came through, and it was invigorating almost. It felt like, oh, if I could jump on that weight now, oh, I'm a beast, you know what I mean? And it gives you that confidence. It really did. It gave me the confidence, oh, I'm getting stronger, I'm physically stronger, which also makes your mind physical, because you're I can do this. You're really telling yourself, I can handle it. I actually don't want less weight. Keep it, because I already jumped for 20 minutes doing it. Why am I gonna stop now? I want to keep going. And it was great, So, and it just showed. I love that, because that's the beauty of learning the cards. When you see what happened that day, and what was my card that day, gives you a description or an energetic impression of what that energy can be.
And how sometimes you miss the cards you have. I've had times where I've had 52 days of certain cards. I'm like, oh, this has been really nice. And then it turns, I'm like, oh yeah, this is different. Or even my daily card, but I think that's the whole thing, is just making sure that you're true to you and the energies are running through. Because like you said, when you're rocking that Ten of Spades, it comes through a certain way. When you're rocking that Three of Hearts or that Ten of Hearts or that King of Spades, like it comes through differently in our characters, but it helps you understand how that energy works and then how you alchemize with that energy and still do you.
To answer her question, I think someone is asking, what can you
Yeah.
tell me, does it mean the Ten of Spades is on the crown line is my result reward card? Result, what is the Pluto card? That'll give me more. But the Ten of Spades as a result card is also just going to show you how powerful you are. How bad do you want it? It's a card of success and accomplishment, but it will come with, it really will show you how determined you are, how much you can accomplish by really seeing how powerful you are. Because again, tens are one with your higher self. So it's not about an outside thing. It's really you putting in the effort and the willpower to achieve. And it's being in the crown line, then it, you know, even it's like you're reaching a point of success. You want to take advantage of that energy because you're reaching a higher point. It's about setting your goals and like really prioritizing and crushing it, like not letting anything or anyone get in your way, because this is an increase for you to really see, or an opportunity for you to really see how powerful you can be, how you can persevere even when things may seem rocky or challenging. You know, that is the purpose of that, to have it. um you know, so being willing to work, being willing to not give up, being willing to succeed and accomplish no matter what, because having any 10 as a reward card, it wants to give you more, and it wants to show you when you put in the effort and the determination, you will have all that you desire. But again, I would wholeheartedly write a list of goals, and prioritize that, and be willing to put in a lot of effort. And this week, being that this week is concluding a Ten of Spades week, go back and look at what happened this week. What came for you this week? What showed up for you this week? What did you accomplish this week? How did you feel this week? Will also give you an insight to that reward card as well.
Because it's displacing the Jack of Spades, and then the Queen of Spades, and both of those are like really work efficient cards. And if it's sitting in the sun, where the Eight of Diamonds or the tennis, the
10 of clubs.
no, the Queen of Spades usually sits in the sun,
Oh, yeah.
then that means the Saturn card is going to be where you sit for life, you know. So kind of like Gina was talking about, that realization, looking back as far as like the work, especially within the home, success, you know, the sun line is success, right? So looking at, like you were saying, being very focused on achieving or acquiring information, material things of material value, or maybe even kind of like what I was saying earlier, helping, just being able to help, or depends on your definition of success, right? There's this quote that I wanted to look at or read about success and the essence of it. Can y'all still hear me?
Mm-hmm. Yep, I hear you.
Hopefully I can find it. I know it's in the video comments, but I don't know if it's saved. That's fine. But go to get the quote around that. Yeah, I can see it here now, but it will say it in, um, in the information section. But yeah, so looking at your spread, and it also gives more clarity. It kind of helps us out to see. So just be aware, this is kind of what people would call not even a mini, right? But like a little snippet. So thank y'all for the questions. And hopefully these things are also kind of bringing a little light and clarity, especially with us, you asking about the Ten of Spades. So kind of keep it in context to what we're speaking about today. I know we kind of use other cards as well. so um, so if it's at that moment, we may be able to bring light to maybe a different card other than the card of the day. But we've been on for an hour, almost an hour 30.
Yeah, I gotta go. I got Christmas lights and trees and stuff to do today.
Thank you guys. This was great. So Jack of Spades next week, huh? Initiation. Let's see where it's going to take us.
Right.
That's my reward card, so I'm excited for it.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. Well, thank you guys. This was wonderful. Thank you all for the comments and for coming. And like Rashad said, like, subscribe. Like, we're obviously enjoying it, and it's going to be our Sunday thing, and the weeks are going to keep happening. So let's learn and grow together. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean to show that last comment, but also in the Ten of Spades is also talking about real estate, the home. Jack of Spades is this year where doors open. So I'm showed that. So doors shall open, but it also takes work. There's what is faith without work doesn't produce anything. So also making sure things like that things come into alignment when they're supposed to, but you also have to be proactive. You have to defeat procrastination and all those things, and also being aware of your own personal debts and finances, and so you're able to do the things, knowing your self-worth. It defeats a lot of issues and problems as well, when you're going through times of depletion, or where you find yourself without certain things. It's really working on your self-value and your self-worth first and foremost, to get the things that you want and need to sustain yourself. So I appreciate y'all. We'll talk more about the Jack of Spades. It has the Ten of Diamonds, and Saturn, I believe, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, as we say, the Ten of Diamonds is that thing that has everything that we all want, and also is the gift that keeps giving. So all the things of material value, things of worthiness, it knows the value of things. So if you're looking to get anything you want and those doors opening, you got to know what you want, first and foremost.
And they have to operate with integrity for them to have that success. They cannot operate from that lower side of the Jack. It's not a good place. So they have to, that Ten of Diamonds and Saturn, when they're operating from integrity and character and fairness, they can attract so much abundance to them. But they try to cut corners, or they try to hustle, or they try to do it the shortcut way, the non-integrity way, then that's when that Saturn card will take their wealth.
Yeah, you got to work for it.
Yep, you absolutely do.
Be honest as well. The Six of Diamonds, and that's where me and the Seven of Clubs was having our difficulties, because the Jack of Spades is connected to them.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't want to keep y'all here longer than.
Bye. Happy Sunday. See y'all next week.
All right, see you. Thank y'all.
Bye, guys. Thank
Bye, guys.
you.